3 years ago, I believed my family was the one place where I never had to defend myself. But that belief shattered on a rainy evening in Savannah when my younger sister, Brielle Carter, tried to make my wheelchair disappear before her charity gala even began. I had arrived at the historic Belmont Conservatory wearing a navy blue dress, carrying a small gift for her, and hoping that despite everything that had happened between us, we could finally have one peaceful night as sisters. My name is Eleanor Hayes, and my life changed on a mountain road outside Asheville when Brielle, distracted by a heated phone conversation, crossed the center line and sent our car crashing into a barrier, leaving me with a severe spinal injury while she walked away with little more than a bruised shoulder. My parents immediately begged me not to tell anyone that Brielle had been driving recklessly because they feared she would lose her future, and I was young, frightened, and convinced that protecting my sister was what families were supposed to do. Recovery was nothing like the inspirational stories people posted online, because while doctors taught me how to rebuild my independence, my parents quietly allowed Brielle to rewrite what had happened until relatives began believing that I had somehow been responsible for the accident. When I finally returned home from rehabilitation, I discovered that Brielle had become the strong one in everyone's eyes while I was treated like a painful reminder of a tragedy nobody wanted to discuss. And every time I tried to correct the story, my mother would whisper, "Please, Eleanor, don't destroy your sister's future." For years, I swallowed my anger and concentrated on building a life that did not depend on anyone's sympathy, eventually becoming an architectural accessibility consultant who helped businesses redesign public spaces so people with disabilities could move through them with dignity rather than being treated as an inconvenience. That was why I accepted Brielle's invitation to her gala, even though part of me knew she had never truly accepted the person I had become, because I wanted to believe that success, maturity, and time had finally given us a chance to start over. The moment I entered the conservatory, however, Brielle's expression changed when she saw my wheelchair, and instead of greeting me, she glanced toward the photographer and said through clenched teeth, "Could you wait outside for the family portraits?" I thought she was joking until she motioned toward a decorative screen and asked an event employee to position it so my chair would be hidden from the main camera angle. And when I quietly told her that I wasn't going anywhere, she leaned closer and whispered, "This night is supposed to look perfect." I refused to argue in front of her guests, so I moved toward a quiet corner and tried to enjoy the evening. But Brielle became increasingly irritated every time another person stopped to speak with me about my work and my recovery. Eventually, she announced that the family photographs were beginning and insisted that I transfer into an ordinary dining chair, even after I explained that I needed the support of my wheelchair. And when I said no, her smile disappeared completely as she muttered, "For once, can you just do something for?" Told her that I had spent years doing things for her, including carrying the blame for an accident she had caused, and that I was finished pretending my existence needed to be hidden so other people could feel comfortable. Brielle's face hardened, and before I could move away, she grabbed the handles of my wheelchair and tried to force me backward toward a storage corridor, apparently intending to hide me until the photographs were finished. But one of the wheels caught against the edge of a raised stone threshold, and the sudden movement sent several glass decorations crashing from a nearby display. The noise silenced the entire room, and within seconds I was surrounded by stunned guests while Brielle stood frozen, insisting that I had deliberately caused the accident to embarrass her. Then a woman in a silver evening jacket pushed through the crowd, knelt beside me, and immediately recognized the medical brace beneath my dress because she was Dr. Mara Whitfield, the rehabilitation specialist who had overseen the final stage of my recovery years earlier and knew exactly how much physical support I required. When Brielle nervously claimed that I had exaggerated my disability for attention, Dr. Whitfield looked at her and calmly replied, "I have reviewed Eleanor's medical records, watched her rehabilitation, and personally evaluated her mobility. You don't get to rewrite her condition because you're embarrassed by a wheelchair." The room became painfully quiet, especially when one of the photographers revealed that his camera had captured the entire confrontation from the moment Brielle grabbed the chair. And another guest admitted that she had heard Brielle earlier telling an employee to keep my wheelchair away from the photographs. That was not the only truth that surfaced that night, because when the police arrived to take statements, an elderly family friend finally admitted that she had witnessed Brielle texting moments before the original crash and had been pressured by my parents to keep silent. Brielle's fiancé, Nathan, listened in disbelief as the story he had been told for years collapsed piece by piece, and when he asked Brielle whether I had really been responsible for the accident, she could not look him in the eyes, which answered his question before she ever spoke. In the weeks that followed, I stopped allowing my family to turn my pain into a secret they could use to protect Brielle, and I pursued the legal case while refusing every demand that I forgive her simply because we shared the same parents. My parents eventually offered to cover my accumulated medical expenses if I withdrew my complaint, but I told them that I was no longer interested in payment for silence, because what I needed most was the freedom to tell the truth without feeling guilty for surviving what someone else had done. Months later, Brielle accepted responsibility for the original crash and the incident at the gala, while my parents were forced to confront the consequences of years spent protecting one daughter at the expense of another, and I used the settlement to purchase an accessible apartment overlooking the water and expand my accessibility consulting business. A year later, I received a letter from Brielle written from a correctional facility, and although she finally apologized for the lies, the manipulation, and the years she had spent treating my wheelchair like something shameful, I realized I didn't need to hate her anymore. I simply needed to stop carrying her choices as though they were my responsibility. I now live in a quiet coastal town where nobody knows the version of me my family tried to create. And every morning I roll onto my balcony with a cup of coffee, watch fishing boats cross the sunrise, and remind myself that independence is not the absence of limitations, but the freedom to decide what happens next. Brielle once believed hiding my wheelchair would make her life look better, but she accidentally revealed the truth instead. And the day she tried to make me disappear became the day I finally stopped disappearing for everyone else. So please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.